Hello, everybody. Yes, okay, I'm gonna draw. Thanks for tuning in. I'm getting toward the end. I'm on the second to the last page of Door to Death issue 6. And then I just got really tied up in this. That's how it always goes. This is a casual thing. Kind of, sort of, and then I started recording the videos because I just saw Doug Tidnopoulos. I thought it was so cool to see the artist actually creating. So if these little shows, or whatever you want to call them, videos have been any kind of positive influence, experience, watch for any of you all, that makes me really happy. I don't expect it's too many, but I personally enjoy watching other artists create. Is a guy who likes to draw myself. So yeah. If this has been good for any of y'all, it's great. Anyway, yeah. Let me shut up before I really get going on all that. So anyway, I did a page that took me 3 hours last night. It kept me up till 1. And I do have to get up at human hours these days. So I was a little sleep deprived. It's totally worth it, I mean, I tried. I've said this. I've mentioned this. I spent, I'm getting closer to 40. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay, I was like, I just want to get all these things that I've dreamed of doing since I was a child kind of done. So I spent a year right up until the point of our move from Virginia to Pennsylvania, just completely crashing. I mean, just creating at a feverish pace, where a lot of sleep was sacrificed. And one of the big deals to me was doing the Door to Death, the 5 issues, which became compiled into the first volume. Yeah. And anyway, I mean, still I take on these projects more casually these days, and I've really gotten into this issue. I'm incredibly excited about it. In fact, I was so thrilled when I was done with the page. I was just so happy with it. I was kind of buzzed, so I had trouble getting to sleep despite how late it was. And now, of course, I'm suffering the consequences of that. I'm tired, so it's hard for me to really convey my enthusiasm. And we're creeping up. It's like 2.5 minutes of me just rambling about all that. I wanted to share these thoughts with you as I approach the end of this issue, because it's gonna be on hiatus for a while. Door to Death after issue 6. I'll do a page here, a page there. This has gotten this out of my system. I got to get back to 2 children's books on my table, and definitely I'm going to be doing some Cranberry Death Sauce finally. And for those of you who don't know it, you should check out issue 1. It's on paperback and Kindle at Amazon. Cranberry Death Sauce. I remain. That's like 5 years old now, and I'm finally gonna get back to that. I'm really excited for that. And also, I just have a lot of real life stuff. I want to. I don't want this taking up too much of my power, my energy. So that's like my journal entry, my thoughts at this point as a guy who creates comics for fun. Really enjoys it and really kind of obsesses over it. It gets to where I'm just really hung up on getting something done, no matter how much I feel like I've already gotten behind me. This issue I'm just so thrilled about. So anyway, let me shut up. Let's turn your attention away from my disheveled, tired appearance and to my robe, my bathrobe. You're welcome. Okay, so this is the second to the last page. All right, I hope I don't have. Let me try and spare you all. Any of you who are taking time out for this, I would want it to be the least annoying experience as possible, which is asking a lot from an annoying guy like me. But but we had that camera wobble I noticed the one time, so I'm really hoping the tape is holding. All right, now before we get to this is a fairly mundane, and all of a sudden, boy, I'm getting stuffy. The weather's like not as blistering cold as it has been. Okay, off goes the rope. Yes. Oh, got coffee in my belly, and I'm fairly comfortable. I think I'm in a good way to go. Just my brain's not, it's still, I gotta wait for the coffee to kick in. My brain's not working too good. You know, it's crazy when I go a morning without coffee. If I don't get time to have my coffee before I drop my daughter off at preschool, I see everyone, I'm real like mellow and cool. So it's like I really got to ask myself if coffee is worth it, because sometimes I say I wish I could be a little more mellow and cool and not such a spaz, but it's like I keep drinking coffee, so because I like coffee. This is a page from issue 4. I was referencing this because because we're back in the beach house now. And you know, you just go back to old pages. Once you make an architecture, you know, a piece of a house or whatever, building, any landmark, you I don't know. I want to be I want to be consistent with the details. You can obviously, I'm not as uptight about it. It used to be real intimidating for me. These parts. Drawing architecture, because it really bugged me that I have to go back and redraw it and get everything spot on. You really don't need to get it spot on. That's something that's pretty obvious to anybody. But I was like OCD, and beyond that, I don't like drawing architecture anyway. But, yeah, here's the beach house they're in, and we take us back to this spot, and we are having this character, Herb. What was his name? Bernie Franklin, our old friend Herb. Haven't seen him since the filming of Old Mossy Rock, but he became a comic character. And of course, my good friend Micah. There's the back of his head right there. These two characters, and then my other good friend Jarrell. He's going to be reappearing as well. They're still back at the beach house, where we are right here. But before I did that, I do want to share with you all. Now here comes, this would be a spoiler, but here comes the page I did last night. I'm just so proud of this page. It is so disgusting, bloody, gory. I absolutely love it. So all you kids, all you death metal kids, first of all, watch where you tread in that scene. Be selective. But I know how you are, because I am just an older and uglier version of the death metal fan that loves blood and guts in comics. Now, me personally, I am of the old school. I don't want random chaos. I really, even when watching a horror movie, as I've said many times before, I can't stand real life violence. I hate real life violence. I hate real life suffering, obviously. But in fantasy, in the artistic depiction of violent things, horrific things, we have kind of a shameless adoration of these things. It's fun. Any fellow horror fan knows this thrill, and if I sound like some weirdo for saying that, don't get uptight with me. Look how much money the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street franchises have made. But I'm not going to get into all that. You find yourself really having to defend your love for horror growing up, because there's a lot of flakes and simpletons who don't know why we don't just all sit around talking about unicorns. Okay, that's ridiculous. All right, the world can be a hideous and ugly place, and we say humankind spent so much of our our time here on this planet having to go out and kill our own food and stuff, and now we're sitting in these little suburban neighborhoods and drinking lattes and stuff. It's like, come on, that's why I stand by it even to this day. People used to say I'd grow out of it, but I think horror has its place. Now, this is obviously something I would not want a little kid to see, because they can't really separate the real from the unreal. When I was a kid, I saw faces melting in what was it, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and that seriously disturbed me because there was no that my mind did not register. This is a movie. Those are special effects. I just saw faces melting. Um, you know, and yeah, that's the problem. A kid sees something like this and they don't get it. They have to be at a certain level of maturity. Now, I think I was a preteen when I could really kind of handle a lot of this stuff. But even to this day, I don't like. I want the ironic twist. I want the violence being portrayed while in real life, crappy people like this, I would not wish this on them. That's it. But if monsters were going to eat somebody, I'd want it to be really rude, mean, nasty people who exploit and take advantage of other people and go into facilities where people are just trying to work hard to make a living, and being rude to those people and condescending just because they can get away with those type of people. You always say you don't wish death on them exactly. You want them to wake up and maybe see the error of their ways, be better people, stop being such jerkheads. We don't want them to be ripped apart by monsters. But if monsters are going to rip apart anybody, probably better them than these nice people, right? So that is the kind of guilty pleasure of horror entertainment to me. Now, in nihilistic horror, sometimes it's really hard when I just see innocent people, depending on the degree of realism in a horror picture. Now, I've watched nihilistic horror films before, and some are just real hard for me to stomach. I loved Brawl in Cell Block 99. And some things happened to some people who I really, truly did not feel deserved it, and that's what made it so hard for me. And that's that. I'll talk about that movie more sometime. But the character perpetrating the violence was in a situation where he really didn't have a choice. It was the most brutal, horrific idea of what might befall somebody being pigeonholed into a situation like this, and where it's the safety of yours. You're asked to do something. You're put in a position where you're told if you don't do something that is really, really against your moral compass, then something very, very bad is going to happen to your loved ones. That is terrifying. Now, also, the lesson in that film is he's a good guy who made some very bad decisions, and the consequences were pretty rotten. But yeah, when stuff had to happen to people who I just didn't feel deserved it, it messed with me. I almost had to turn it off when one guy got brutalized. He wasn't a how you put it, an angel. He wasn't an innocent kid. He was a grown man, probably not the sweetest person in the world, but compound fractures really suck. Sure, in real life, even in a movie, man, I can barely stomach that stuff. I mean, if it's happening to somebody, one of my favorite movies of all time. People don't understand me on this, but I swear, this was one of the movies. This and the last Rocky film they made, the last Rambo movie. Man, absolute one. Probably, if there weren't so many other great movies, I dare say that's my favorite movie. But that's hard. Geez, that's a little tricky. It might be, given the day in question. It was probably one of the most meaningful films to me. It was incredible. The level of violence in that film. And, the thing about that movie, now that we're talking about the fictional, the artistic depiction of violence, like serious violence, the thing about that film to me is it showed the kind of violence that I simply can't stand. Innocent women and children, villagers, horrible, just awful, just stuff I and it's worse to know of places in the world where this stuff is going on. And I think we need to be made aware. And frankly, I don't want to see the actual footage of war atrocities. I can't. It's just I can't stomach it. But I think we at the same time we need to acknowledge it. You can't just turn a blind eye to it, and that is really why I seriously respect that film. This is kind of saying whether you like it or not, that stuff is still going on, and then it becomes a big conversation. Well, what do you do? And one of the things approach was, do we have any business? Rambo in that. Rambo had gone nihilistic in that. He said "F the world," like literally. He said that at one point. Just said that's how it is. Don't try to change it. And the missionary kind of brings his soul back. It brings his faith back. It gives him a crucifix. And okay, Bernie should be hung over here because he's a partier. Disgraced dentist, new historian, now refuge to Corrales Coast. Check out the books and the film. Old Mossy Rock suffered, sadly, from the stress I was enduring, the lack of support I got that I really needed to make it, and I was so stressed out when it came to film time. I didn't remember enough of it. I needed a script supervisor, so I stumbled through a lot of scenes. But Herb here did a great job in portraying his. I would love to work and film with this guy. He is awesome. He's a great actor, and Micah too, most definitely. Already gone on like 16 minutes, and I've drawn like a head. This is pathetic. Sorry guys, I'm really tired, but I guess if we are to keep and bear in mind that this isn't purely just for the craft of creating comics, maybe we can. And it's just to hear me run my mouth about things. Oh yeah, but anyway, Rambo. Let's do justice to Micah. Let's draw Micah's head in a way that he will appreciate. Last I saw, he's bald. More power to him. It was his personal decision. He wasn't born that way, and I respect his decision to shave his head. Where was I? Yeah, Rambo, just the violence in that film. Yeah, and Stallone even said in an interview, he said, if you don't look away at one point, I'm really not liking how I'm doing this. Sorry, guys. He said, if you don't look away, then I've failed. And I said, yeah, absolutely. There's some stuff just like, oh my God, just the idea of women and children, being massacred is just something I can barely stand the thought of. Yet there I am watching, and I'm saying at the very least, it's hard for me to watch this and say, oh my God, who, how, and so you just can't stand it. And I know it's more complicated than just roll on in there and annihilate. But I'm not saying that's not necessarily the answer for troops, for somebody in Rambo's position, a former soldier. If he has the ability to stop that, just like a vigilante who sees some crime being perpetrated, has to take drastic measures and put his own life at risk to stop some really bad stuff from happening. And he's got that. He also has that problem of having everyone's turning their back on him when he's done fighting and risking his life for everybody. Just everyone kind of forgets about him or demonizes him or start saying this or that about them. Just and troops have to deal with that kind of ignorance. But anyway, where I'm getting with this finally is it's when the bad guys really start biting it. We've seen them raping, killing, brutally butchering, and one problem I have a lot, and this is people are going to say, some real simple-minded person would say, what's wrong with you? I'd say, look, that's just how justice is on an emotional level. Problem I have with a lot of these movies is they don't shy away from showing a lot of this really god awful stuff happening to the good guys, and it ticks you off, and you just say, I cannot wait until, justice is served. And when justice is served, it's just like so quick, I'm like, you have no problem to show you didn't have any issue whatever, to show this awful stuff happening to the good guys. And then when it gets to the bad guys getting theirs, it's just like you don't have the guts to, just make it kind of make the punishment fit the crime a little bit more than that. I watched one film with the great, why am I forgetting his name? He's like such an incredible actor, Michael Caine. Fantastic movie. These punks are like ruining the neighborhood. I totally lost. I totally derailed myself from my point. I'm never getting there. Oh, I'll get back to Rambo. Yeah, it's like these punks are doing this terrible stuff, and when he doles out vengeance, when he finally, and it's like when the bad guys get theirs, it's just like ding dang, done. I'm like, what? After all they did, they got the easy way out. Give me a break. That's no fair. The people they harmed had to go through all this crap, and they're like, yeah, get him, Mike, get him. Or Harry Brown, I think his name was in the film. And then it's like, that was it? That's the payoff? And Rambo, man, he, and the hatred, just the animal, the viciousness in his face when he finds, there's this one guy who, violates a, God, it's hard to even say some of the stuff in that film. He violates a youngster, the leader of this guerrilla army who's massacring the Christian villagers in Burma. And boy, when Rambo gets his hands on him, and there's another would-be rapist. I'm talking about some dark stuff, but I guess we're just talking about the whole point of where violence has kind of like a satisfying element in fantasy. Yeah, Rambo gets his hand. I'm gonna give a spoiler. This is worth sharing. He gets his hand, and you should see the movie if you have not, if you can stomach it. If what I'm talking about is just too much, or if you're under the age of 18. I mean, I saw that when I was like 27, I think, and not easy, but man, incredible. There were some vets in the audience there. Like grandfathers, it looked like. The crazy part is they were with what appeared to be their grandkids, and I had to quit. I said, "Is that wise?" It's like, on one hand, I think it's healthy, at some point for a kid to grasp reality. They really do. Kids have to understand that the world is not all sunshine and rainbows, as Rocky also pointed out. I think it has to be. They don't have to learn a very hard. They shouldn't have to learn in a way that's going to be very upsetting. If they don't absolutely have to. Not all kids have the. Some of them have to grow up around that in places in this world. So I mean, just bear that in mind. So I mean, if you got to learn about the horrors of war, probably better a movie. If you have the luxury of getting to learn about these things through film art, then consider yourself fortunate, which I consider myself fortunate. But there are kids in the audience, and I will say in the defense of the vets who wanted to take their kids, their grandkids to see Rambo. It's funny because they were probably thinking like Rambo 2, Rambo 3, or even First Blood. Is something. I mean, I wouldn't let a little kid watch it, but it's probably one of the first mature rated things I'd let a kid see. And so if you're thinking of those, I mean, perhaps they were thinking that's what they were going to get, and by the time the film's rolling, and it's too late. Probably got out of there. I've had that before. That one movie, Devil's Rejects. So this should be a fun little romp, you know, because I saw House of 1,000 Corpses, and I said, this is going to be silly, ridiculous blood and guts, and it was really depressing, horrible violence. That was a nihilistic movie, you know, and at the time I kind of enjoyed it. Well, no, did I? I'm not sure if I did. I enjoyed some of the cameos and stuff like that. Old horror faces. Oh, Bill Moseley. Love Bill Moseley. He's freaking awesome. How long have we gone on? We're already creeping up on a half hour. It's mostly just been me talking about Rambo. And then we're just talking, you know, I showed you that page. People are getting ripped apart, and I guess it's just a big conversation, you know. And in my experience, I've just had to deal with a lot of really ignorant people who see this stuff and don't get it. You know, it's like I drew Madball pictures when I was a kid, and people said, "Oh, he's got problems. He's got problems." You know, and it's like I said, I did draw scary, bloody, horrible things. You know, but like, I'm not gonna. And yeah, I needed to talk about that. You know, there's a time and a place, and I did get that talk, but I didn't need people treating me like I was messed up. You know, I also drew a lot of happy stuff too. But I've already talked at length about the injustice of having the positive side of my artwork attacked. But yeah, also like even to this day, you know, that's too dark. When I'm creating a horror comic, you know, this stuff comes up, you know, and that I will admit, you know, the violence in this one is kind of sort of a cheap thrill. I'm not going to deny that, you know, but I gave it kind of purpose, you know, and even to this day, it always, you know, at one point I said, Lee, are you making a cheap excuse? Gotta seal his head so the color doesn't get in, because I'm going to draw the beach outside the window now. Are you just making cheap excuses because you know you love watching horror movies? Are you just inventing excuses to watch something that you know is not healthy? You've probably got much better things to be doing. Are you just full of it? You know, when you start saying, I say, no, you know, I will, you know, and I've even heard people that are like-minded individuals say, you know, horror movies use this excuse, hey, it's only the bad people. You know, I say you know, I thought about it. Maybe some people do use that as an excuse. Maybe they're not genuine when they create. Maybe they really want to, you know, and a lot of people these days, they don't even seem to have that thing holding them back. They just do a lot of blood and guts anyway, and there doesn't really seem to be a purpose. So I say, shoot, man, things made a whole lot more sense back when, you know, it happened to people who were kind of asking for it, you know, building up bad karma by their deeds. You know, I mean, people say it's not real, and yeah, in real life, bad things do happen to good people. That's the unfortunate news. But thinking art, you know, I want to stick to it. I want to say, you know, you make a lot of bad decisions, and it does come back on you. You know, I think horror is kind of a depiction of maybe messing with the wrong crowd or messing with substance abuse or something like that, having a drug addiction. Dang, it's still not closed. Golly, man, I'm off today. I'm so off. I said I'm getting to the end. Why don't I do another video? And it doesn't matter. It's such a boring page. People can listen to me talk about horror or something. And I really feel like y'all are getting ripped off. If anyone's actually watching this, thank you. Hope you're getting something from it. You can watch. Okay, it got inside his glasses lens there. No big deal. I'll just erase that. That's let's see. Oh, yeah. Boy, this is going to be hard. I forgot I can't really move this one. Oops. Man, maybe I ought to save the beach for later. Here's the beach, everybody. There's the water, blah blah blah. There's the trees. Yeah, I think in horror, I do think it serves that purpose. You know, it was the good and virtuous one who always makes it to the end. I mean, not these days. They threw that out the window just to be not as cliche or typical, and I can't necessarily argue with that in all cases. But I'm just call me old school. You guys, I'm about to, because we've already gone on so long. No, I want to share the beach with you. I really do. Give me a second. Sorry, I'm just going to do this. Save everyone some time. Now, I did want to look at the actual beach that this is inspired by on Maps, Google Maps, but I'm not going to do that. Let me, you know what? Let me. There, I should have done that earlier. Okay. All right. So let's see. We got let's see. Let's give the. There's the beach. It's the water. I like drawing oceans actually. You know, it's very organic. Yeah, back to Rambo. Seriously, if you can stomach this kind of thing, watch that movie. Nobody really feels me on that. You know, I have very few friends that were as impressed by the last Rambo movie as I was. You know, I like a lot of these 70s horror films, and I think the new Rambo did flavor that a lot. See, I'm doing this the hard way, y'all, because I don't want to move this from its position, which is difficult for me. That's because I usually tilt it to an angle so I can get these lines, horizontal lines, which I'm going to do real quick because this is just probably getting boring for y'all. Yeah, oceans, especially with Manga Studio. I mean, you know, there's probably much to, you know, even simpler ways to do it. Once I reference Tinapple a lot, you know, or these people who make pretty effective comic panels with really simple strokes when you look at them. I mean, they look, you know, sometimes he's got his more complex ones, but sometimes he really gets a good effect with just some good line work and coloring. Now, me also, you know, one of my issues is once I get toward the end of an issue, I really start obsessing. It's almost like you're on your final lap, and you just put it all in there. We're missing something, aren't we? I neglected this part. Oh, you know what? And I also forgot there's a little. Yeah, I'm really off today, but once again, this being the second to the last, we're probably not going to have too many of these videos. I did want to say, stay tuned for what is that thing called? I'm going to do Lee Davis art videos. There you will find whatever I'm working on today. Sometimes I just do random abstracts. I might record that for y'all. I love doing abstracts. Abstracts, actually, you will see the three kind of sort of abstracts I did just totally on the go are going to appear as the cover art for Door to Death issue 6. So that'll give you a taste of that. You got I've made the little intro video as well for Lee Davis Draws Cranberry Death Sauce. So I can't wait to share some Cranberry Death Sauce videos with you. That's going to be interesting for me because I've been away from it for so long. From drawing those kind of cartoons. Daggone it. Okay, now I'm actually getting frustrated. Okay, let's see. Give this ocean some texture. Now this ocean, out there in that ocean, for those of you who have read Door to Death Volume 1, at the end, the remains of the hive, which was resurrected from the book Corrales Coast, all these tied together, are in that ocean. And they know the remains are mostly dead, but maybe not dead enough. Maybe not dead enough to stop sending out signals, nightmares. They are impotent. They are weak and motionless, but they lay dormant, waiting for germination, calling out to whatever force might resurrect them. Okay. What do you think of my ocean so far? See, yeah, I love doing that. And it's like I said, with Manga Studio, you know, it's great because you're not committed to anything. What time is it? Oh, God, time's flying by. I'm just gonna let this video run on. You know, I'm not gonna because we're and also since we're on the home stretch, just you know, it's just it's just let's just go crazy and just whatever. Because we won't be doing this again for a little bit. Okay, now also something. Okay, like when I'm creating this, and once again, I said I wanted to earn myself the privilege of having the last little fragment of my 30s, you know, to enjoy these next couple of years, and not like life is over when you're 40. It's not at all. But I want to reach a certain quota before I get to that age. Also, as a father, I want to open up space, as much space as possible. But man, I'm just compelled to do some of these things. And as issue 6 was coming into format, you know, I just like, you know, I had a lot of stuff done. I had a little time. There's no movie I was really desperate to watch, and I said, let me do a page of Door to Death. And then later on, I did another, and I didn't even know which direction it was going. And you'll see that in the beginning. I really didn't know what was happening. I had some basic ideas. Where was I back then? Yeah, just that the remains, you know, the little foreshadowing at the end of issue 5. You know, there's some fear that the remains are still potent. You know, I knew I was going to go do something with that, go somewhere with that, and yeah, and it's just like it often goes. As I was creating, all of a sudden, man, things started really coming to me. I had the idea, of course, is the violent part. I said let's have a little fun here. Let's do something. Let's get lowbrow and have some really bad, annoying people. Let's say, you know, it's easy to draw inspiration from some of the lousy people I've seen at family theme parks who are very rude. A good motive. I don't wish death on those people. I hope they wake up and grow up and start acting like decent human beings and use their power and their time on this earth for good. But in the meantime, they shall serve as good inspirations for characters who are eaten by monsters. You know, and yeah, that came to me. I said, let's get because once again, you know, and going back to this topic briefly, I'll keep it brief this time, promise. That's what people want, you know, and I'd be lying if I said I never wanted that. That's why I'm creating it, you know, because I am a fan, and so that's what kind of gives me a good idea of what people in horror might want. Now, of course, many out there would disagree, but this is what. On that note, I'll say this is. You know, an artist or a musician, whatever, you know, they're usually doing it for themselves, and to a degree, as far as what they want to see. You know, now that's not necessarily going to line up with what all the readers want to see, for sure. You know, so that's not to say I've got the grand scheme because I am a fan. No, not at all. But this is but I am definitely writing what I want to read, you know. I'm watching the Junji Ito anime, which is very faithful to the manga, the comic strips. You know, I just recently read Fashion Model. As it turns out, that was in the Long Dream, which was where the story's adapted in the second episode. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. You know, it's just the best kind of entertainment I could hope for. You know, there's other great stuff out there, but yeah, Junji Ito or Hideshi, you know, Junji Ito probably more than any other manga creator. Definitely, yeah, he's tops. And you know, it's just such a pleasure for me when I get to read a new Junji Ito, or a couple of years back, I reread a lot of the stuff that had faded in my memory. I reread a lot of the comics. MangaHere.com, or check out those translation sites for all the stuff that was never released in the States. Once again, this is also the kind of sad reminder that this kind of stuff doesn't have a huge audience. I can live with that, but I mean, it's like it's good that we have other fans out there that help bring it to the readers. Yeah, but you know, so that being said, just how much I absolutely love those kind of comics. You know, what do I want to make? You know, well, I hear a lot of people saying, "Well, what is selling?" And I don't disrespect that, but that is not me. That's the marketing person's frustrations, and that's probably why I don't get a lot of calls and why I'm doing door to death independently. And I like doing it independently. I'd like to get some representation, but only I would take support for sure, but if a publishing house actually liked my work here, not this isn't my sellout comic, wanting to make money, of course, liking to have money in the liking to have, there's my good grammar for the day, because having money is good. I would, given the opportunity, if the price was right for the kind of work being requested, I would do a comic that I wasn't really interested in. But because that's not on the table, I just have more space to do the kind of comic I really want to do. I like it that way. Hey, I just got a text message. That's weird. Let me make sure. No one ever texts me. I'm getting wobble on that camera. I've been sitting there running my mouth. Probably wobbled the whole time. Probably screwed up my... Okay. What's going on? Is this wobbling? Stupid tape. Are you holding? Are you holding your tape? Don't tick me off, or I will replace you, tape. Don't think you're not replaceable. Seriously? But it's pretty strong though. It's still sticky, right? Please. Last couple of videos, I want these to count. It's really not sticking too good. Well, people, that stinks. Sorry if you've had a lot of wobble going here. I promise it was not my intention. That stinks. It's almost like there's, okay, one more second, everybody. This is right on long anyway. Let's just... Patent reversible. Okay, this is going to have to do. Hooray for Scotch tape. Maybe that'll stabilize it a little bit. Okay, what was that message? No, I don't want to try again. That's my thumbprint. Take it or leave it. Monday. Well, that's not annoying news. Hey. Wow. Next Monday, 9:50. Don't tell anybody, but I'm scheduled for a professional massage. A decent one. Yeah. So where was I? Rambo rules. Oh man, I think the coffee's kicking in. I feel like my brain's kind of sort of working. See, when you're putting yourself in the position of being a maniac artistic geek, I think you kind of need coffee because it's just your shtick. It's just part of your style to run your mouth like an idiot. And when I'm trying to do that and I don't have enough caffeine, it just doesn't work, and that drives me crazy. It's like, you gotta have all pistons firing. Is that the right expression? Gotta have it working for you. Gotta be moving. Gotta be kind of wild, That's why these artists, a really artistic individual when they talk and they move their hands a lot. Sometimes they're just being annoying. Sometimes they're just pretentious jerks. It's like Dario Argento, man. I love watching the videos of him creating a film. His eyes go to a different reality. Like his eyes are somewhere else. He's seeing this vision. You just watch that man create. And I mean, I don't want to. I watched like when I was making Old Mossy Rock. Though I wish that I had performed better in the film and been better prepared, and I had gotten the support that I needed from the people I needed it from. I watching the video on the first night of filming, I love it because I was so in my zone, and I'm not saying that makes me great or anything like that, but just getting to work with several people who are kind of working with me to create a scene, and getting my advice on what they should do, and collaborating with me is a fantastic experience. I have not gotten to know enough in this life because of circumstances, because of being pushed into a position of black sheep and all that stuff that still really stinks to think about, but whatever. I think, you know what, this beach is getting good enough. And once again, I did want to look at the beach closer as it is. And I probably am not even too happy with this. This kind of looks a little, I want to be fairly happy, but they're looking down on it. Does that look, I wonder if I could make, let's make a, maybe we could make like if I could make some trash down there. Oh man, maybe like a birdhouse. Yeah, there is a, okay. And it is supposed to be getting late. It's like evening time, I think. And this is going to sync up with, God, I really wish I was I had an actual picture reference. Okay, maybe that's just going to have to do, right? I don't want, because it looks like they're on the ground level. They are not. They're on the upper story looking down. You know what? And that's going to be demonstrated in the latter panels. Let's just do this one panel today. Maybe actually, no, maybe some of the second panel. How am I doing on time? Not too good. Oh, God. We could just get like a full day to do this stuff. Anyway, there might be another video, maybe even two, but I wouldn't want to bore y'all. I mean, there's just 2 pages to go. It's already a quarter of an hour. 15 minutes from hitting the 1 hour mark. And I've got one of these done. That's just pathetic. Oh, and let us not forget, I do need to correct this error. There are thinner panes. There we go. That's not straight enough. I don't know. Actually, I was doing a panel. Yeah, it was the last one when they skipped to the kind girls working the sushi restaurant. Dag nabbit. Yeah, I said dag nabbit. I said dag nabbit, and I'm not ashamed. It's how I identify. What was I just talking about? I guess it was nothing important. Oh, poop. It's not in. B. Poop, 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 poop. All right. Let's see if I can correct this error. Yes, there are the single panes, and we are going to have to. You know what? This is actually kind of fun. Creating the window scene. Whatever. You know what? This might turn out okay. I just wished I'd prepped a little better. I should have had that map up and ready to go. I had the one visual reference in the old comic, but you know what? There is. Let's see. Hold on. Which one is? Okay, yeah, there they are. This is okay. Why didn't I think? I just looking out the window. Obviously, it's going to show part of the beach. I remembered it shows the hive coming out. Isn't that cool? Those of you who have not read the first volume, check it out, buy it. But yeah, there's the hive. This thing has been, ripped to pieces. But the fun is seeing how it's ripped to pieces. I really avoid tooting my own horn on these, if you will. Yeah, I said toot my own horn. That's just how I roll, I remember very vividly. I was down in the basement of our old home in Virginia. It was around the time I was pinning issue 3 of Door to Death, and man, the climax. And I knew I was going 5 issues, and this is how it drove me crazy because I knew it was such a load of work. I wasn't even done with issue 3, and doing 1 issue is, oh my gosh, And it came to me, and the obsession just intensified 100-fold. It came to me, and I was so buzzed because it all unfolded in my mind, and it was very, I will say, complex. And man, when I got there, and that comic ran 10 extra pages, it was 32 as opposed to the standard 22. mean, my gosh, just that home stretch was thrilling, exhilarating, and it's unbelievably exhausting for doing just non-stop art. Man, I just burned myself out on a nightly basis until that sucker was done. Man, when it was, what do we have? I'm checking to see if that birdhouse is in this picture. Just pretend it's out of view. 1, 2, 3. We're accurate enough. Should there be curtains up here? There are. They're right there. That's, you know, no one really cares but me. But okay, you know what? Yeah, let's okay. There's Bernie. His name's Michael. It's just reference back to how I drew them to try and get them a little bit on point. Obviously, once again, Michael is based with permission. Good friend Micah, as is Gerald, who introduced himself, played by Gerald, and debuted in Mossy Rock, my debut picture that I directed. And yeah, these guys are all coming back, and this has been a real joy because they were fantastic friends to work with on an amateur production, and getting to bring them back in comic form is just a true delight because I miss those guys and working with those guys and just hanging with those guys and doing the conventions with those guys. Not Herb so much because he didn't do the conventions, but man, they're, you know, just some fantastic talent. Actually, everybody involved in that those films was awesome, and these are the ones who gave me permission or to ask to be in the comic. So God bless everybody who helped me with that film. Those films, pardon me. Do I want to do another film? You betcha. Actually, you know, I'm trying not to obsess. You know, that's another thing. I got the films done, man, because that was one of my big dreams. And, you know, I did not get to go to the West Coast and, you know, work in the actual industry and do all that stuff, go through the motions of establishing myself, which would have been a fantastic journey. I was denied access to that, like everything else in my life, and I had to do it independently, and fate just delivered me the right people to meet to finally make it happen. So it was an incredibly amateur production. I've often wondered, you know, what would it be like if I had resources, you know, professional resources, training. You know, I self-taught myself a lot. I think I would have fared okay without... I mean, just, you know, but if there was more time, if I was in an environment, that's too excited. In an environment just where there were more people who were kind of seasoned, and that's no slight on these guys. For us all being amateurs, I mean, I really couldn't ask for much better, you know. And it's like your standard, and you know, people you see reviewing the indie films who get it are the ones who say, look, I get it. You know, they were say quite literally, I get it. They are not professionals and they did the best they could, you know, and that's why when I'm looking at this stuff, I say, well, they poured their heart into it. You know, if I see somebody really cared about this picture, wasn't trying to make a quick buck, you know, that's something to me. You know, someone had a dream, even if it's the cheesiest, like lamest thing I've ever seen in my life, you know. Say, well, you know, they had a dream, you know, and the thing about film is, man, you got to be passionate to do that because anybody with half a brain knows you're probably not going to get huge from it. I mean, especially if you're doing it independently. Yeah, but never rule that out. You got to be open to the possibility. How am I doing on time? Still not very good. Time keeps on slipping into the future, and that kind of stinks sometimes. All right, Micah, did I do a good job? Have you read the first volume yet? For crying out loud, there's a joke in there I put in there. I've dropped you guys so many hints to check that out, and I have not heard feedback from you guys. I don't think you read it. I made the promotional video. Watch it, for crying out loud. You have not. There's a joke about, I did a practical joke on... And those of you who have not even met Micah in person will recognize the joke, I think, once they get to the beach. I just had this idea. It's so much my sense of humor. I'm such a genius. I thought for sure, man, I would just like to see he and Jarrell's faces when they got to that point of the comic. I wish you know what? Actually, guys, you should read the comic and videotape yourselves once you get to the page like of issue 5. Get to page. I'm not gonna show it off. Page maybe 28, 29. I'm not gonna open it up. I don't want to give it away. Yeah, let's see if we can at least. You know what? Let's say because these guys deserve it. They're not the only. Let's at least get these faces in. Then I'm gonna say goodbye to y'all, and we will see if this wraps it up for Door to Death videos, at least until, you know, when I get the time and have gotten enough stuff done that I say, okay, you know, I've got some space, let's do another page, which these pages will be, of course, appearing on my Patreon page. If I ever get any subscribers, that's great for you, and eventually released on on Kindle and paperback from it, or at least Kindle. This on Amazon. So that's how it's going to work from here on out. So watch for the videos. Stay tuned. Watch my other videos while I'm doing other artwork. Abstracts, children's books, images, illustrations, that is, and other things you can look forward to in the meantime. And yeah, once I get back to Door to Death, can't wait to get. I will be looking forward to it. It's going to be good to take a break because this has been very exhausting. It grew as it always does. And I am ready to take a break from it. Feeling very satisfied. Release this story. Feel great about it. Feel just fantastic about how this issue has turned out. I am very, very happy. And I hope you will be too. I hope you buy it. Oh, incidentally, yes, I will be releasing this issue as a paperback. And you know why? Because the only I only gave issues 1 and 2 paperback treatments, just to have something to hold in my hand to take to the conventions if I ever get to do a convention again, for crying out loud. But you know, and then after that, I said, okay, now I've got the novelty. You know, I have the ones I can hold in my hand that I can give to friends, and you know, ironically, that they were the weaker entries because I was still kind of getting back on track of doing horror comics, and you know, they were a little clunkier, ironically, but yeah, I had those, and then it just felt pointless to release more in paperback. But this one, because coming back, because I'm just so happy with it, and this is going to have refreshed advertisements in the back. It's going to be updated, and just because it's just such a thrilling return, I'm so, you know, if this was if Door to Death Volume 1 was a movie and this was a sequel, this is a sequel I could be very thrilled for. You know, this is the one I could truly in my heart feel, wow, you know, this is going to be a proper sequel. I don't want to say necessarily, I don't want to go out and say a better movie, but a worthy one at the very least. And I don't say, and I would dare to believe its potential to be a better movie. But that's getting ahead of yourself because we're only one issue in. And anyway, any you producers ever want to make this a movie, then you know I could speed up the process of finishing the next issues. I thought about that, man. If I were to commit myself to doing another 5-issue run, you know, which I guess could happen eventually. I mean, you know, this is 7. You know, if I took it up to what's that number, 12 or whatever. Wait, 8, 9, 10. Wait, no, 6. What am I saying? No, golly. Man, I screwed up. Why was I thinking it was 6 issues? Oh yeah, just never mind that. Yeah, if I took it up to issue 10, I was like, man, I could not commit myself to that practically. I'll just take it as it comes. Yeah, nice little serial thing. Blah blah blah. Man, how long have I gone on? It's about an hour. Let's get you know what? Maybe we'll call it quits. Let's get one more of our friend Herb, or Bernie, if you will. I think you do, and because it's actually kind of fun and refreshing to do these character illustrations here. This is a fun part for me. Once again, getting to see my old friends in a way through the medium of comics. Comics are magical. Comics are art. They get to go places we don't really get to go. I also do that with Google Maps sometimes. I love looking at beaches I want to visit and stuff like that. Cool places and consider visiting for the future. Okay. He's looking a little, they all feel it in the air. They couldn't count on it to stay dormant for too long. Looks a little sad. He's troubled. Probably hungover. That's the idea, is these guys are all just kind of, they're like drifters now that got access to this beach house because Michael's uncle owns it. This was referenced at the end because they all got to get out of Mossy Rock. They perform their duties. They vanquish the evils and they all said, "What now?" It just happened. All the characters wanted to get the heck out of there, but they didn't know where. And just like that, Michael said, "We can go to my uncle's place on Corrales Coast," and yeah, which is where all this, and that is where fate delivers them, where they bump into people they never would have expected to meet. Amazing things happen in that. Really amazing things, in my opinion. Such as Dural's character meets Winston, and Dural was inspired by the movie Winston starred in as a kid to become a writer. Lots of connections. And the character of Eric, who was in the first novel I released, At the Heart of Atrocity. All these stories converging, from the movies, the novels, and then the comics. All those storylines lining up for everyone to kind of meet their destiny out on this beach. Lots of fun. All right, Bernie's character was very cynical. Now I like this too. This character transformation. Bernie's character was very cynical and grotesque and perverse in the movie, but he was a good-hearted guy. He wanted to do well. He was just like a real kind of a dirtball, but the likable dirtball. He was Paulie from Rocky. Good-hearted kind of schmuck. And Micah's character, Michael, he was we made him so daffy, and he did such a tremendous job with that. And I kept that for the comic, no matter what's going on, whether he was fighting monsters or falling through the sky, plummeting to his presumed death, which obviously he didn't die. He's always just grinning, just kind of making an observation about very morbid, horrific things. Like, wow, how about that? Like everything is a comic book. That's how he was in the film. Now I like this because suddenly he's starting to look a little troubled, and I think that's kind of ominous. If you're used to the character and he's smiling about everything, and all of a sudden he's like, "Whoa, you guys!" You're like, "Well, if he's troubled by it, then maybe we should have concern, be concerned about this." Well, that was fun drawing these faces, and that is all for today. This is where they're going to see the egg from the book. Now we're converging my last novella, Broken Vein, into this. How exciting! I completely burned out my entire morning doing this, and I have no regrets. Thank you for sharing this with me. Everyone who watched, I did let this go on over an hour. I did a lot of rambling. I was very ill-prepared, but, we got about half of a simple page done. And that's not too bad. A page can take up to 3 hours. Sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. So we're making decent time. I'm pretty happy I got to share this with y'all. I was thinking of watching Ultraman and lifting weights, but let's get these last 2 pages done. Let's get them to you. Anyway, those of you who stuck around, love you guys. Let me say goodbye face to face. Once again, this may be the last Door to Death video. Yes. Anything else I want to share? I've rambled about everything under the sun. That's probably just all geek talk anyway. All right, yeah, nothing's coming to me. I think I covered everything that's worth rambling about. Yeah, just watch for the end of this. Watch the Door to Death Facebook page. Subscribe to my Patreon if you want. Once I get at least 1 or 2 subscribers, if that ever happens, these pages will be up there. You get those for you're gonna get it instead of having to buy it for Kindle or whatever. And that'll be my incentive to create much more. Not only Door to Death, but I mean you'll get all the comics will be up there. No pressure, but I mean if you are so inclined, then that's where you're gonna find a lot of this stuff as it unfolds, and I'll be posting these instructional videos up there as well, and some exclusive stuff for those of you. Once again, that's like as little as $1. That's what I love about Patreon. $1 a month, it's for chump change. That's an awesome schematic, but of course, you're neck to neck with 8 gazillion other artists out there who are probably doing even more marketable stuff. They're Pokemon knockoff or whatever the heck is these kids want these days. Your kids that like the blood and guts with an actual moral backbone, then I think Door to Death is your comic. Okay, that's it. I love you guys. I gotta go. Bye-bye. Did I turn it off? Man, I swear I clicked that button. Bye-bye.
Door to Death, Volume 1, Revived Hive, collecting the first 5 issues of Door to Death in the single Charlotte comic. Oh man, it's so brutal, it's gonna make you puke blood all over the place. Totally blood puking, awesome, nasty, so savage, just kill yourself. It smells like crap, it's so awesome. It'll make your girlfriend spray love sauce all over the walls, and then you'll go crazy. Pick up a copy for your nephew, he'll think you're the coolest uncle ever. Kill me, even though no one ever calls you, you're still loved. Never give up hope.